It was imperative to strike before we were struck by this overwhelming force in hand-to-hand fight, which we could not probably have withstood or survived. At that crisis, I ordered the bayonet. The word was enough. It ran like fire down the line, from man to man, and rose into a shout in which they sprang forward upon the enemy, not now 30 yards away. The effect was surprising. Many of the enemy's first line threw down their arms and surrendered. That's Joshua Chamberlain on his victory at Little Round Top. If you have never heard of him, you need to go look him up. Sometimes your victory only becomes possible with your attack. The odds come down to basic math. However, faith has an uncanny way of making something of nothing. Faith has a way of rewriting the certainty of your story. Never take what you see as finality. Continue reaching for something greater. Joshua charged the enemy, knowing he'd rather his children know that he was shot charging forward and then instead of shot in the back running away. He understood that fight was greater than flight. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us, to him be the glory. See, that came from a post that we made on Instagram. If you follow us, you know that we like to make those posts on Sundays. I wouldn't call myself a history buff, but I definitely enjoy digging into this nation's history, and I do feel like if you can understand your history, then you'll know what not to repeat, and you can use that to help guide your future and make better decisions for yourself. So I do like to dig into history every now and again, especially this country, the USA's history. Now, Joshua Chamberlain was a fascinating character. He's a big man, a powerful man, and in this instance, they were outnumbered, and it looked like they were heading towards certain defeat, and he just got it within himself. He's like, all right, you know what? I'm not gonna run, so I'm just gonna charge the enemy and see what happens. And so they were out of bullets, they had no ammo, so he yelled to affix the bayonets and he ran. And the enemy's thoughts were, these guys are just so crazy and they have so many people that they're gonna overrun us. So they turned and ran, and they ended up coming out of Little Big Top, and they won, which is incredible, but they won when they were outnumbered, and they won when they shouldn't have won. The odds were against them and the facts were against them, but here's the deal. Facts are just facts until we decide to change them. Faith has an uncanny way of changing what's in front of you. The way I like to look at this is, okay, something happens and I see circumstances, what am I gonna do with it? Am I gonna lay down here? Am I gonna turn and run from it? Or is my goal, is my calling, is what I'm supposed to do on the other side? That's my decisions. When I look at something, I'm deciding, okay, those are my decisions. What do I need to do here? If I feel like where I need to go is on the other side, sometimes you just have to go all in and mount the attack on whatever it is that is in front of you, because a lot of times it's something very small and we've made something into much bigger than it really is. It's actually a pretty small thing, and if we just attack it and go after it, sometimes it just turns and runs. Sometimes it creates a bigger battle, but at the end of it, if we know that our calling and if our passion, if what we need, what we desire is on the other side of that, we've got to get through it somewhere. We've got to get there somehow. What I want us to look at when it comes to our daily lives is using faith to guide and strengthen us, to allow us to say, you know what, that looks like it can't happen, but I'm gonna make it happen. And you just go after it all in. And a lot of times it's just that idea of just going all in. We always have more in the tank. We always have more inside of us than we ever realize. And that's like a big Navy SEAL saying. They say something like, once your body's spent 40%, in your mind you think you've gone 100, but there's still 60% left in the tank. And I know that may not be exact quote, but I read that somewhere, and I believe that it's true. So your mind is going to tell you, okay, I've given it my best, or I'm tired, I'm worn out. But there's always so much more in us that we can be doing, that we should be doing, that we should be believing for, that we should be striving for, that once we just go ahead and get in our minds, all right, you know what, I'm gonna put the bayonet, I'm out of bullets, I don't got any more rounds in me, but you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and put the bayonet on, I'm just gonna run. And then we're gonna see what happens. That's the idea that Joshua Chamberlain took, and it worked for him. And I think that it works for a lot of people in life too, especially in business. You see that in business all the time. There was a story about FedEx. I use FedEx for all my shipping, and it's awesome. They're very fast, they don't lose our orders, and it's very dependable. So I love FedEx, and that's who Holdfast Gear uses. Now the owner, they were about to go out of business. He took $5,000 that he had left. He went to Vegas, gambled on it, because he knew that there was a particular game that he wanted to play that he felt like he could win at. And to him, it wasn't gambling. He felt like, you know what, I can turn this money into something quick. He did. He made a bunch of money out of it, came back and used that to reinvest back into the company, and now it grew into what we know today as FedEx is a very successful company. So the odds were stacked against him, and it looked like he was going to fail. He just didn't quit. He decided to go ahead and fix his bayonet and attack it. And I feel like so many times it's little things that knock us down. It's simple things that knock us down that make us decide, you know what, I can't make it in that career. You know what, I can't be a professional photographer. You know what, I just can't do that. And usually it's something so simple. And you know what I hear a lot? I hear a lot of photographers thinking, well, once I get this piece of equipment, once I get this lens, then I can go do weddings. Or once I get this camera, then I can be set. And it's always these little things that distract us. We're saying, you know what, I'm just gonna go give it my best effort. Because I promise you, I've said this before, and I'll say this in every stinking video because to me it makes sense, and I think it works. People wait for funds to start something, but I promise you, your vision always leads the funding for it. The vision always leads everything else. So once you go all in, once you get your idea that you want to do something, once you've realized that, hey, I'm gonna get to here, then you gotta go all in it with it, and everything else aligns to that. Everything else aligns to you pushing into your calling. Once you push into your calling, once you find what you're made to do, and you go all in on that, everything else falls into place. So it's not like, okay, I can't start till I get this thing. No, I'm gonna get started and that thing's gonna come to me. That's how this works. That's how it always works. If you talk to any successful person in business, they're gonna tell you that exact same thing, that they didn't wait to get started, they just went all in. They have fixed their bayonets and they attacked it. And that's what we have to do in life. And when we decide that there's something that we want to accomplish, or you know what, I know that I'm supposed to do this thing on earth. That's what you've got to go attack, and you attack it with everything you've got. Faith has an uncanny way of making something of nothing. And if you decided to open up your history book and start going into history like this Joshua Chamberlain story, you're gonna find characters all throughout history that just one person stood up for one thing and it changed the course of everything. It happens all the time where one person did something with full conviction and it turned everything on a head. Every great movement that you've ever seen, it almost always was just one person that made one decision and then went all in. Faith has a real uncanny way of making something of nothing.